The Tie and Hoodie Show is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.
3, 2, 1.
Every human came to earth with a gift, and they must discover that gift and refine that gift for them to be fulfilled.
The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame.
Yo, hey man, how you work this radio?
You're not listening to the Tie and Hoodie Show.
Keep it locked.
Owning a home and paying it off is one of the data points of an everyday millionaire.
Home sales across the U.S. are on the rise as buyers take advantage of record low mortgage rates.
Good morning. Now let's get back to the Tie and Hoodie Show.
Good morning, happy Sunday. Right here on the world famous 93.5 KD, it's the Tie and Hoodie Show. I'm your host, Trevon Smith, also known as Trey, with my main man, Andrew Obijiaku. How you doing?
I'm doing good today, Trevon. How are you today?
I'm hanging in. It's a beautiful Sunday morning. We always got something positive we want to share with the community. It's a great show. Like we said, positive energy over everything. And that's what we do here right here on Sunday, 6:30 to 7 a.m. every Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's Sunday morning, another Sunday. We're blessed that we're still alive. We're coming off of the pandemic. Vaccines are going on, whether you decide to take it or not, but still, everybody's coming out, and I'm starting to see faces again, rather than masks and things like that.
In California, it's two ways, First of all, your ride home gets longer. And second of all, I seen somebody the other day say on Instagram that they were at Kaiser and they waited an hour and a half again. So everything's back to normal if you're waiting at the doctor's office.
It's coming back to normal. But we have a great guest today, Trevon. Take us in.
Yeah, we have a great guest today, and we'll be talking a little bit about the post-pandemic or the pandemic of what you could possibly do to help out your situation. And, maybe some kind of financial manner or planning and just getting ready, because a lot of people are still struggling, whether you're EDD or on any kind of assistance, man, or just got back to work. It's the time right now to get the help that you need. And that's why we have our guest right here, who's an expert, and she's a coach. And I can't wait to pick her brain. It's Miss Njideka.
That's it.
I got you right there. How you doing today?
You got it. I'm doing amazing. Thank you guys for having me on.
No, it's definitely a pleasure. If you can go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So my name is Njideka, last name Obijiaku. So the name is not common. I am Nigerian American. I'm first generation Nigerian. Okay. But I grew up in South LA. My background is actually in the sciences. So I have 2 degrees in sciences, a bachelor's in science and a master's in public health. But about 10 years ago, I actually transitioned and did a little, I call it pivot. So I always love to talk to my pivoters. That's people who, you might have started on one route, on one journey, but you decided to move. It's always an opportunity for you to shift. And so I did that, and I shifted to the financial industry. I saw that a lot of my community, we didn't have access to wealth. We were always asking somebody else for money, whether it was in the form of some type of, assistance or grants and funding and things like that. And I didn't like that. I don't like asking people for money for things that, for projects that I want to be able to do. And I said, all right, well, our communities of color, we got to be able to, get the information to be able to begin to do that for our own families and for our own communities. And so I got all my licenses. And I am a money and business coach. So I particularly help young professionals that want to pivot and want to not only build wealth, but also want to transition into entrepreneurship. I help both do that and build 6-figure businesses. So that's what I do.
Now, going back, I know we covered a lot right there as far as, building wealth and stuff. I want to focus on that group that's probably 30,000 to 60,000. Because that's most of our K-Day listeners, and that's with all respect to all our listeners and stuff. But I'm familiar with the demographics that get reported. One thing is, did the pandemic initiate your transition, or is this something you were thinking about before the pandemic, as far as, you know, doing financial coaching or, you know, helping out the community as far as the money matters?
No, I've been doing this for 10 years.
Okay.
So well before the pandemic.
Yeah, because the pandemic has forced me to think a different way. So, you know, I just wanted to, you know, talk a little bit about that. As far as I just thought the pandemic was something that kind of initiated it, but if it didn't, this is something you've been doing and you kind of had an idea, especially living in South LA. I'm very familiar with Mom's is in South Central, so I know how it is on those streets. Can you just talk a little bit about what somebody can do as far as the people going through the pandemic right now that are struggling, like check to check, maybe some ideas or just a transition of their brain process of, and, you know, reach out to you, give your information out as well.
For sure. You know, and, you know, when everything started to really happen with the pandemic, I think kind of similar to what you're saying, what your story is people really, eyes were opened and eyes were open and ears were open a little bit more to what a lot of financial coaches, you know, different people we've been kind of talking about. I had clients that, you know, when everything happened, when everything went down and stuff was starting to close, I had clients that lost jobs. I had clients that still had jobs. I had clients that I had been working with. And so, you know, when after everything got shut down, and I think I remember a couple of sessions, and I'll give you a couple of tips, but a couple of sessions in, you know, my first session, with clients after everything is shut down. I remember one client in particular, she at the time was about 25, 26 years old, but engineer, so makes somewhat of a higher income, might be like high fives, right? And so, you know, it's an order to it. I would say kind of an order of operations, some things to build a solid foundation before you get into the sexy stuff, the buying property and buying crypto and buying this and buying that. There are things to do before then. And I remember asking her, I said, you know, how are you feeling? You know, how are you financially? And she said, you know, if they couldn't pay me for, the next month, 2 months, I'm actually fine. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, because we already talked about emergencies. We've already planned cushions. We had already begun to talk about this. So I know that I'll be okay. And so I think one of the things that the pandemic definitely showed everybody is that when you have to plan, you have to begin to plan in advance. It is, yes, there's some degree of living in the moment, but there is planning, right? Whether it is, and that's where emergency funds come into play, right? Having 3 months worth of living expenses, 6 months worth of living expenses. Even corporations, even they got revealed because some of them didn't have emergency funds even for their own businesses. And so you saw businesses shut down for that same reason. So in the same way that you have to have that on a business level, people have to make sure they have that on a personal level. So if, for example, so what that starts with is a budget. So you need to know what your expenses are. So that's even going further back, right? We need to be aware of our expenses, let alone our spending. And I'll get to that. One, it made people understand you got to be aware of what your expenses are, right? You got to know what income's coming in, but know what is technically supposed to be going out. And so budgeting, once you get whatever your budget is, your basic budget, do that times 3, right? Do that times 6 so that you know how much money you need to have set aside, right? In an account, a high yield savings account, a bond fund, whatever you want to put it into. But as an emergency, it's just an out of sight, out of mind type of account. But that, again, in the case that something happens, you'll be good. The other thing that it definitely taught us, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw it back to you, is you got to have more than one stream of income. That probably was one of the biggest things that this taught people, is you cannot rely. One stream is dangerously close to zero, you know? Yeah. So you have to go outside the box and know and realize that you have to learn how to depend on yourself, and you can depend on yourself in order to make sure that multiple streams are coming in your household. So you're less vulnerable. So those are two big things.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's talk about timeline and sacrifice. You know, so you know, you're talking to a lot of people right now who's saying, I can barely make it at my job. I'm making $15-20 an hour. You're telling me to have 3 months of reserves in the bank, or you're telling me I have to have 2 or 3 streams of income. I'm in over my head. I have these 2 jobs already. I'm sick of it. I'm going to work every day. I can't seem to catch a break. You know, that has happened to every one of us at some point in our lives, right? So in your experience, when that happened to you, how were you patient in perseverance to move up to the level where you are today?
The first thing that I had to do was I had to get a grip on what I had leaving my household, right? I had to get a budget. I had to figure out what is coming out, what is leaving, because I can't continue. I've had period of times where the income has gone straight down, straight down. And not only does it is a shock, right? Just to you, it's a shock all across the board. So one is you have to mentally stay strong, right? But two, you have to get a grip on your expenses. And so what that meant is if the income is lower, okay, I can't live the same way that I was living before. And so I have to just be mindful of that. So if I have children, what is the basics? How much do you need to come into that household? So if you need $1,200, if you need $1,500, if you need $2,000, then we do have to start putting a plan together as to how am I going to get that, right? What are the different options that I have at this point? What is my gap, right? Because that's what a lot of people find themselves is, I have a gap. What is my gap? And what are the options that I have to fill that gap? And it can look different ways, right? Depending on who we're talking to. But the other thing is, we have to, if you don't make a decision to get uncomfortable, you're going to stay in an uncomfortable position, And I think that's another big thing is that you are going to have to think out the box just a little bit. You're going to have to push yourself out just a little bit. You're going to have to do some things that maybe you're not used to just a little bit in order to get a little bit more. You don't have to, people don't have to make 5 figures a month in order to you don't have to make 5 figures a month in order to build wealth. Wealth is built in small disciplines. If you don't know how to manage $500, right? If you don't know how to manage $1,000, you're not going to be able to manage 10,000. You're not going to be able to manage 100,000.
So let me throw this back to you real quick. I mean, when you talked about being uncomfortable, learn how to be uncomfortable. Let's do some real life examples on that, because some people are listening. They're like, I don't understand what she means. Being uncomfortable could be, you're used to watching 5 hours of, ESPN a day. Well, or you're used to having a cup of coffee a day. Can you expand on that, like that uncomfort level that can get you to a level of being comfortable again? And what's the timeline? 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? I mean, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, timeline is what you make it. The timeline is all dependent on the beliefs, your mindset and the beliefs that you have that are either pushing you to do it or limiting you from not doing it. So to some degree, it is individual level, if that makes sense. But this could be in 30 days or 90 days or 6 months. So when I say getting uncomfortable, yes, that if right now not doing much, I figured out a way, right? Whether it's through certain type of resources, access, services, I'm able to bring in, let's just say $2,000 a month. But I know that I have a family, I have children, and that is not going to cut it. I'm barely, because my rent is $1,100, and everything else is getting eaten up and so forth. Okay. I need to assess what I'm doing to bring in income and assess other ways to bring in income, even things that might force me out of my comfort zone, even things that might force me, you know what I'm saying? So if that's certain types of things dealing with entrepreneurship, if that is certain type of side hustles, if it means I might have to bring on, that's what I mean. I mean that sometimes it is, in order for you to, in order to get access to more, you just have to grow more. You got to be more. You got to do more. You got to build a skill set. Like that's one of the biggest things is build a skill set. My partner and I, we always talk about how trades, and I have 2 degrees. So please understand, I understand the value of education, but at the end of the day, trades are killing degrees right now, meaning skill sets, your ability to monetize a skill set, that's killing degrees to a certain degree, meaning if you have to take time to learn, because the learning process might make you uncomfortable. You might be like, I don't want to, and I got to take the time. Yeah, you got to stay up later. Yeah, you got to get up earlier. Yeah, you got to get a little uncomfortable. You got to do it. You got to do it bad first before you good, before you great. That's uncomfortable for some people, and they don't want to be seen doing something bad. No, you got to. That's how it works. That's how this thing works.
If you're just tuning in, it's the Tie and Hoodie Show right here every Sunday morning, 6:30 to 7 a.m. We're talking to Miss Njideka. How you doing today?
There you go.
It's definitely a pleasure. She's trying to coach us up, let us know what some things we may be doing right in our community, what some things we're not doing right in our community. And when I say our community, we're talking about financial community. It's the rich versus not the rich. So if you're not rich and you're not doing, believe me, these rich people are doing what we're talking about today. Get uncomfortable with being comfortable. Like a lot of my friends give me a hard time, like, hey, Trey, we know you got some money saved up and, you know, whatever. I don't go out no more because every time I go out, I get stuck with paying more than what I was supposed to pay. Or, you know, I got to put $50 in my cars because I drive big cars. So I stay in the house and hey, FaceTime me, Zoom me. But like you said, you have to get uncomfortable and make better decisions with your money, you guys. And that's what we're talking about today, is something needed in our community. Miss Njideka, go ahead and give them your number, website, or any. We're not close to done, but I always make sure our guests get their due diligence. Give them your whatever information you want to give them.
Yeah, you guys, anybody can go on. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. My Instagram handle is n.o.theculturescfo. You know, anybody can go there, DM me. I'm always there, always putting up content, trying to put up just educational content for folks. You can also go to theculturescfo.com as well. Tap into it. I have a webinar. I do coaching. I offer courses, digital courses as well. And so financial planning. So it really will take you from A to Z as far as getting your finances in order.
I do want to jump in again. I mean, I'm going back to the idea of you have to know to make more sometimes, whether you know in terms of education or you got a different skill set. You know, you have 2 degrees. Serious kudos to you. Some people will be like, well, you know, I don't know whether I should go to college or whether I should go learn to be a mechanic or whether I should go learn how to do hair or whether I should go learn how to do nails. Or whether I should go work at Burger King. You know, that's getting out of your comfort zone to go get that kind of accolade or skills that you need. You know, I mean, I went to college, but with what I do right now in mortgage financing, I wish I never went to college because I could have learned it without going to college. You know, but I still went to college, and thank goodness I have my college degree. You know, but what will you say to people who are thinking, should I go to college and get this specific skill, or should I just go start learning as an apprentice somewhere and just put in 4 or 5 years and get out of the hole? What's your advice on that?
So it depends on what outcome you want. To your point, it depends on what outcome you want. Everybody, the running joke is always when you come from a Nigerian or African family, you only have a limited, number of career options and career paths. And so I was on the doctor career path. That is why my background is in the sciences. And so I knew what I wanted to go, and I needed to go to college in order to, be able to get to med school. And so it made sense for me. So depending on what a person wants to do, I think the great thing now is that you have so much access to information and people that have done it, that are talking about their journey and how they got there, the mistakes they made along the way, and the quicker way to get there, right? So again, it all depends. When I used to be a community organizer also in South Los Angeles. And one of the projects that I led was a construction technology academy at Locke High School, to put one there. And the idea was that at the end of the day, the kids coming out of South LA high schools, everybody's not necessarily going to college, but they still deserve to be able to be in a position to make a higher income, right? And so the trades was huge. I work with so many unions that's out here. And one of the paths towards, for people that might want to be an electrician, right? Want to be a pipe fitter, a sprinkler fitter, whatever the case is, whatever trade it is, electrician, right? Is get an apprenticeship first. And that's a solid way to make money. And depends on the route that you're trying to take. I definitely encourage people where it makes sense. Especially if you're trying to go into business, if you want to be an owner of something, be an apprentice. Be an apprentice first. That's an absolute. You're not going to jump from ground level to to six figures tomorrow. So get some great guidance and mentorship. My God, mentorship is so key. Seeing examples of people who have gotten to where you want to go, just follow their lead. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You literally can follow people. So it all depends on where people are going. And the one point I want to actually say kind of to the questions that you've had is, I'll go back to the emergency fund, for example, because one of the things you mentioned is, that I said, look, you get to 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. Even Dave Ramsey says, look, just start with $1,000, and not dump $1,000 in there, but start with $50, $50 plus $50 and start there. Make that your first goal, right? Chewable pieces. Like we always say, to break goals down into chewable pieces, because otherwise it's going to overwhelm people and they're not going to do anything, right? Even I understand that personally. So doing that. The other thing is that's important is, you got to get your ground together. And what I mean by that is you got to get the basics together. So if you have to take a job at Burger King, if you have to take a XYZ job to just to make sure that some of the basics are taken care of, because if your housing, for example, is not stable, your mind isn't even going to be on. Bump the talk about entrepreneurship and the sexiness of it. And get you LL. You're not even going to be able to think about any of that stuff because I am barely paying my rent. Right. And so, I want to make sure that I emphasize that you got to, there are levels to just making sure that you have a grip on some of the basics, and so that you can more clearly kind of get to those higher levels. And
I think that if a lot of people might not have really understood what you just said was so valuable, because some people say, oh, I got to be a bachelor, or I got to be an entrepreneur. No, that's why you get an AA before a BA. You have to reach those small goals that slingshot you to your forward goals. And I talk to a lot of kids and I work with kids, and I always say, hey, you're going to work hard now or you're going to work hard later. So let's be smart about it. I'm not trying to knock nobody. You can be at whatever you're going to be at the age of 50, busting your butt for 50 hours, or we can figure it out now. So we just trying to get people to understand small goals become big goals. There's nothing wrong with working at Burger King, Amazon, or doing what you got to do, because you can't become an entrepreneur or or get your goals aligned unless your bills are currently paid. So that's all we're trying to express to everybody listening. And we're just trying to help people out make better decisions. But I want you to go ahead and shoot your information out again, where they can reach you at, Miss Njideka.
You getting it? You got it? See, you got to say it a couple of times. Yeah. All right. Again, my handle on Instagram is n.o.thecultures CFO. Please make sure there's an S in there, Cultures CFO. And you can reach me on there, DM me, everything. That's probably one of the most accessible places to find me, and or go to theculturescfo.com as well. You can find me there. So,
we are going to be posting this on our YouTube page, on our Instagram page, so people, in case they can't hear maybe people are driving right now and listening to us, they'll be able to still find you. Before, I still want to plug into one more question, because Trevon and I have come from, a position of nothing to where we are right now. We've been there. I mean, yeah. I mean, we've been there my first job was $5.75 an hour. I mean, maybe that tells you how old I am or whatever, but I have cleaned so many toilets in my lifetime. I was a janitor for years, cleaning toilets and working night shifts. I mean, slept in my car for a couple months. Now I'm in a position where I'm responsible for, more than 50 people to make sure they have a paycheck every month, So I'm just trying to, what would you say to people who are saying, you know what, I'm in a dead end job? Is there such thing as a dead end in America? Give your opinion. Is there such thing as I'm in a dead end? How can you help somebody out of that thought process?
Okay, so this is my positive mindset side. As long as you're alive, there's no dead in anything. You know, as long as you're breathing and you have woken up, woke up as long as you woke up this morning, there's an opportunity out there. You just have to find it. And the job is not your end all be all. Now, the job itself, yes, I think there are some jobs that there isn't much growth potential. It isn't, somebody else literally determines where you're going to go, right? If you get a promotion, what your wage is, right? What your income is, and so forth. And so, but that doesn't mean that you are in a dead end space at all. But you have to believe. So one of the biggest things, I can talk all day about, emergency funds and, and this investment, that investment, what you need to do, the 1-step plan, 2-step plan. One of the first things at the end of the day, people have to really invest in is their mind. Because we've grown up in communities where we were not necessarily taught a lot of things. We weren't empowered in certain ways unless you had access to certain people, groups, people, unless your mom, your dad, your grandparent, your aunt, your uncle, they had that mindset and they really taught you that. So many of our families, we have, and we talk about generational curses. Listen, that's one of them. Limiting belief is a generational curse that I think permeates through a lot of families, a lot of communities. And that's one of the first things that we have to hit. I posted on my page a couple of days ago that fear is $1 billion industry. It's $1 billion industry. People make a lot of money off of fear, but you got to understand you will make millions off of optimism. You will make millions. And it's not even about the presence or absence of fear. It's even if it is present, what will you do? Right? What will you do? Where would you go? So, and optimism. So not seeing doors. So kind of similar to the, what do you feel about, or your opinions about dead end? Dead end doesn't exist. It doesn't exist to me. Just like Kobe said, fear doesn't exist. Fear is not real. Fear doesn't exist. And it's not to say that physiologically you don't feel something. I'm not a robot now, right? But you have to train yourself to outpower that and to outthink that. And it might take a minute, right? It might take a minute. When I first started in terms of entrepreneurship, I got stopped. You know what I'm saying? I got stopped because it's just a challenge. It's a challenge, right? When you're used to succeeding on a particular level, when you're used to certain things, it's tough. I heard you say, I have to sleep in my car. I have to clean toilets. Listen, this will humble you. So there's no one way that this looks. But as long as you have the right mindset, as long as your lenses are clear, listen, and as long as you plug into those people, because sometimes it might not be the people that are directly around you. You got to go find outside mentorship. There's so many things, YouTube and Instagram and so forth, and there's plenty of foolishness on there as well. But there's also great people that will pour into you, because you have to retrain your mind, reprogram your mind. We've all been brainwashed, right? All of us have been brainwashed in some way. And so in many cases, we have to reprogram ourselves to think of abundance and not lack, right? To think of moving even in fear, and not being stopped by it, to think, there's so much potential and not being limited by any limiting beliefs. So no, I don't believe that there's a dead end job, but there isn't a dead end you.
Once again, explained perfectly. There may be a dead end job, but it's not a dead end mindset, because you're paying your bills and you're getting to the ability to, possibly reach your goals, as long as you stay on track and you keep listening to the Tie and Hoodie show right here every Sunday morning, 6:30 to 7 a.m. Hey, we're here for you. The community, we're here for you. We're trying to help you guys out, change your mentality. We learn from you, all the people reaching out to us, and we try to bring you guys special guests. We want to thank our special guest today for stopping by. Please go ahead and give them that information, just in case they just got out their car right now, and some people sit in that, how they sit in that car just to finish listening to the show because you don't want to go in the house. Well, here it goes right here. Give them that information, please.
That's me. I sit in the house. I sit in the driveway.
I'm finishing it.
It's again, my Instagram handle and Facebook is the letter N as in Nancy, theculturescfo. Again, you can find me on Instagram. You can also visit my website, theculturescfo.com, and reach me. I'm reachable. I'm accessible. I would love to hear from folks. Again, I do money and business coaching. I have a course. So if you say, listen, I need the basics, like I don't need the high level coaching just yet. Can I just have the basics? I have a digital course that is available as well. Again, just hit me up on my IG page and I'll connect you with that information.
It's always a pleasure. I really hope everybody goes out and supports this young lady right here. Go check out her webinars. I know I'm gonna say it. It pisses me off. People go pay $20,000 to go sit somewhere and learn something, but won't pay a couple $100 to support our own. So go support this lady. I don't know the projects put out there. I will just use that as example. But check out the webinars on their website. Andrew, anything you want to say?
I have a webinar, a free, and I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but I do have a free webinar called The Roadmap. Go to my Instagram page, go to the link in the bio. It is a free, if you want to create your own intro financial plan, there you have it. It's there. So please go and visit that.
So the Instagram page is the letter N dot the letter O dot the culture CFO. So anybody can go on there and go on Instagram, check it out. But I just want to say, on my end, I'm always a student of personal development, because when you come from nothing, and like you said, people are expecting you to fail. But we are in a country where even though there's abundance, it's not going to happen to you unless you change your mindset. And I'm just grateful that you came on the show. Hopefully you can come back again and give us some more information.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. Again, we'll see you guys each and every Sunday, 6:30 to 7 a.m. right here on 93.5 K-Day. We're out of here. We passed our time. They're kicking us out.
Hey, do you have valuable information that can help your community?
Okay.
And you'd like to be a guest? Hit us on our social media.
Do it now.
The Tie and Hoodie Show is sponsored by ICCLending.com. For real estate service, please go to ICCLending.com.